this accordion was left to me by my dad. He's 61 years old, same age as me. He could play it right to the mark. And the favourite song he used to play was a Bill Bell polka, which a lot of gypsies would know, and they would cherish it. But yeah.
Right, Mike. Just tell us your name and the family. You know, about your gypsy background and your involvement with hops.
Well, my name is Mike Johns. I'm from Ledbury at the moment. Our family have always been with the hops, with past at Bromyard. We've always travelled with other travellers, like the Smiths, Blackie Smith, Herbert Smith, Alfie Smith, the Butlers, the Butler family, which was a very, very good family. They looked after us really, really good. We all lived together. But we wouldn't actually have the caravans by one another. My dad always used to be on his own. So we used to have the campfires at night time. We used to go down into Bromyard. We used to buy the belts with the studded belts, what you could buy at that time. Me and my brother, we used to go down there. We used to come back up. We was only very, very small. But we used to come back. We used to do a rare. We used to have a rare. It used to be black and, well, a bit different to now. But we used to comb it back up. We used to have it as like the Elvis Presley type, and which is this where we get the Elvis Presley thing from. But not now.
That's lovely. I'll carry on recording.
Yeah.
Actually.
Tell us where you were born, and the circumstances and what you were born in.
I was born at Rutch Pitch in Rawsome, well, out from Rawsome, as you go for Drybrook. We used to have the wagon down there. Square tent used to be with our kitchen. And everybody used to be at what I should say then, the gorges used to be down there, and we used to say La John. John on Chavy, and it used to say Faker Kai, there's a Groig John down the road. So we used to come down there, and the people used to come down to us. Our mum used to have the washing out, and they used to talk about how clean the washing was, how white it was, and how she used to look after us. And that was that.
Tell me about describe the caravan, and also you said your father used to make them and sell them.
Yeah, my dad he didn't used to sell them. He used to make the barrel top wagons on the side of the road. He didn't make the Reading wagon. The barrel top, or it used to be the Vardo or the open lot, which was we used to make on the side of the road, or if he went out to a sale or whatever, or with other travellers, they'd have a deal between themselves for one wagon for the other, and that would be that. It would be like the horses. The horses would be, you'd be buying and selling all the time, and you'd have good horses, and my dad used to know a good horse, and even my auntie and everything, my brother-in-law, he used to, they could go right through the make of a horse. If you went to a sale and you wanted, if there was an old horse that would be, they wanted to sell it, they would used to put black boot polish on to cover up the grey, so as they could sell it on. They would, if you wanted to sell a horse, and it was probably, I don't know, 20 years old, you wanted to look good, he's still fit, but they grey him up, they black him up.
That's great.
But I've heard that there were, during the hop season, there were horse sales. Do you know about those?
No.
There was one that by Bushbank. They used to parade up and down horse,
Probably, yeah. The only horse sales we used to go to was like the one at Leominster or Ross and Way. But that's going back now. That's not in the 60s. This is back in the 70s. So my dad wouldn't have anything to do with them. So once he finished with them, that was it. That was the end of it.
You were telling us a story just now. During the hop season, you were at a pub. Your parents were inside.
Yeah.
You were outside. Tell us about that again.
Yeah, that's at Newtown pub. I can remember it really, really clear. We used to have a dray. We used to pull on the side of the road, obviously before the traffic lights and stuff there now, but we used to pull on the side of the road by the Newtown. Mum and Dad used to go in with all the rest of the other travellers. They used to have a louder drunk. You could hear the music going, all singing and dancing. I'd be sat on the side of the dray, and Mum and Dad used to come out with my dad used to come out with a bottle of pop or a packet of crisp. It used to be Smith's crisp then, with a little packet of salt. And then I used to sit there, and the time we're getting on, well, right, 10:30 was closing time then, I think, or 10 o'clock. And I used to say, right, are you ready? And I used to sit there with the reins, and I used to call the horse Rosie. And once I turned her, and I said to my dad, once I turned her, we're going. And they used to sit, they'd come out, they'd have flagons of cider, of the old flagons of cider. They'd sit on the back of that, and they'd be singing with a squeeze box all the way up the road, back up the other side of going up towards Leominster, and we'd go they'd be singing and dance like that, and then I'd just travel the reins like that, and because she was only just cantering, then all of a sudden she'd do a bit of a trot, and she'd be lovely. Yeah.
So you said that you used to travel around with your caravans and your horse and your family. Can you just describe, because I've heard that that you used to follow different harvests, and then you would end up with a hop harvest. Is that how it would work for your family?
Well, what we used to do, it was just one thing. It was just hops. We used to do just hop picking, and it was only the seasons of the year, like. So we'd all probably get together. We used to, when we finished the hops at the end of the season, we used to come back to the yogurt stapler, and before that, we would go from the yogurt stapler to travel to Pass. That'd be the first farm, and then when we travelled back, we'd end back up at the yogurt stapler, and that's where everybody'd have a drink then. So it's always been hops really, and well, when you say hops, then we used to do all the sugar beet pulling. Used to be mango pulling, sugar beet, mangoes, sweet pulling. We used to do it right for the year, especially coming up to Christmas time with the sugar beet. Because the farmer we used to live for was down at the Lee. We used to like on a Christmas Eve, we'd have to go out, and we'd have to pull sugar beet, pull it in lines, take it in 2 lines, and then we had to top it, put it into tumps. Me and my brother used to be the tumper up, so we'd have it in little mountains all the way up the rows, and we'd have to do probably 20 ton of that for Christmas Eve, ready to go off. Yeah.
So what did you do? What did your family do at Pasks? What was your job?
I would be sat on the side of the crib, picking off, pulling off, or I'd be picking the leaves out. Then obviously my mum would be doing exactly the same. my dad would be out doing exactly the same. But if he had to go like pulling the bines or cutting the bines, then he'd have to, he'd go and do that. It depends what we're doing. But we used to work down the rows. You'd have the cribs going down the rows. You'd have one family there, or couple of rows over. Then you'd have another family, and you just keep moving down. Then you'd have the bushler come around with a basket, a big round basket, and he'd tip in and he'd go bushel him up. So you put him in there. And once I used to have a little black and white dog, and he used to sit on the side with me. So when I picked him away like that, the dog fell into the ops, and of course when the bushler come around, he bustled him up as well. So yeah, but he was all right. So we got him back. Yeah, but yeah, that's what we used to do. When at Burley Gate, just as you goes over the crossroads used to be, the farm on the left hand side. That's where my granddad and gran lived in their caravans. So we used to travel from Newtown to Burley Gate, and we used to be actually at the little farm, and the oak tree is still actually there and the gate is, one of the gates is still there, where my granddad said, I went down, I was playing him up, and he said, "What you doing?" He said, "You miserable little pup." And somewhat went on from that, and then he said, "Right, come on, you can get some wood for that now." So I had to go around the edge rows, gather up all the dry wood to come back to the campfire and put all the wood back by the fire, and then you come back around and then you smack it around the ear hole then for being so naughty. Yeah, he did, honestly. He did.
You wasn't describing the farmer Pask, and how good he was to you. Were you telling me that before, that he was good to your family? Or?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, could you just tell us that, Mike, and can you tell us his name so we can put it?
Don't ask me that because I don't know.
Well, Mr. Pask at the farm.
Mr. Pask, yeah.
When you're ready.
Okay. Yeah, well, Mr. Pask at Bromyard, he looked after all the gypsy family. I always remember there was a big bull, but we used to be the proper Hereford bull with the proper horns, and the one field we couldn't go into, and the one field I went into, which I shouldn't have went into, that we walked around, and the bull used to actually follow me, but he wouldn't even touch me, nothing like that. But then somebody else went in there, one of the other travelling boys, travelling chavvy boy then I should say. He used to walk around and he used to take after him. And then Mr. Pask said to me, he said, "Why is it?" He said that bull. I said to Mr. Pask, "Why is it that bull didn't chase me?" And he said, "Well, probably he likes you." He said, "But he didn't like him." And that's the truth. And Mr. Pask and his wife, I don't know if they're still alive now or not. I doubt it, but I hope they are. But yeah, they was very, very good to the gypsy family and to all of them, everything. They was very, very helpful.
Nice.
And he was actually. They was really, really good. If if you wanted food or anything like that, they would bring it to you. They wouldn't let you go out without anything. They'd always come around and say, "Well, is everything okay? Have you got enough food?" Because we used to travel from one upyard, as I remember, and it used to be an old Austin or Morris big green lorry, and they used to have the steps going up to the back of it, and all the travellers used to climb up into the top and back into the back. And I think we used to go to a different upyard as well, so it probably might have been up the road. So yeah, they was really, really good. I hope you could all be like that.
So just tell us about that, Mike. What is it?
This is the tea jug. Obviously, I haven't got the top to it now, but this this is what they'd come around in the hop yard with a jug of tea. The farmer had come around, or the farmer's daughter actually, which in our words, Rackley. The Rackley would joll around, and she'd come around, she'd go, tea for anyone? And that's what they used to bring around, that one. So that's that one. This one is going back a long, long time. Probably back more than the 60s. As you can see, it's where the kettle iron goes onto it, which I've got one out there, the proper one, what matches it. This would be either rabbit stew or chicken stew, and that's what we used to cook in all through the years. And every time you use that, it'd be either me or my brother or my sister would have to clean that, which I can't say much about it at the moment. But yeah, that's that. And that wouldn't be on those stoves or anything. That'd be open fire all the time, all the way for the years. Right for the winter, you'd have open fire outside. You'd be sat around that open fire, and that's what you. Once the stew was made, then probably you go back up into the wagon then, and eat it in comfort. This one's a bit newer. You're probably looking back 65, 67, but it's still been used. It's still been used through the years, and it's had its. What can I say? It's served its time, I can tell you. But that was the new one of that. But the other one we used to have is the proper black kettle. That was the proper one, and the tea. If we didn't have any, what should I say? They put the tea in that. It just put, and it used to be handfuls of tea. You tip it in, then you stir it up, and that'd be that then. And then you'd have to have they used to put it like a little net over the end, just to catch it, just to catch the tea leaves.
What is this?
It's a bath. The bath, not what I used to bath in. My sister used to bath in it. My brother used to bath in it. Probably my mum and dad. I don't know. But I hope they washed anyway. But yeah, this is what we used to bath in, and it goes back a long, long time. And it's been very hard through the years.
Yeah, tell us about the mic.
Right, this one here is the smallest pan, and that belonged to my gran. That's the lady I was saying to you earlier on, my auntie. My gran used to, I've had many of pork chops or home-cured bacon through the years through that. This one is probably, it's getting on a fair bit now. That's what we used to cook on, my mum and dad. And if you look in the photograph, what I showed you, you'll see that hanging on the fire or by the fire, and that's what we used to use in the hop fields all the years round. When my mum would go out, or she'd have like Bramley apples to start with, which I do cook myself. So I'd fry those in these pans, which I do on that fire there, and I just do it up. Now we'd have bread and butter with Bramley apple in between it, and it's fantastic. You want to try it. And then we'd have she'd go and cook or go out and pick fresh nettles, young nettles, We'd have probably do different things with that, soup or whatever. Different mushrooms. We'd have the field mushrooms. We'd have the horse mushrooms. We'd look for all that. Fantastic. That's all about living how you are to live.
So, what sort of expressions and words would a gypsy use that maybe we might not recognise? Because we've heard of Didikai.
Didikai. Didikai.
Who told us that, Rick?
That was rain, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Do you want me to tell you some language then, do you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Right.
generally, but anything that might relate
Relate
to
to
hops as
hops.
well.
Hops would be good.
Right. Like a dog, juckle, cat, muskie, mort, you, rackley, girl, chavvy, boy, mush, mort, mush, Gary, groy, os, all that different things. It's all, it's like if I'm saying to you, if I'm going to meet you tonight, say, John and Rackley, I'll meet you down the cover tonight, or the Kitchener. You know what the Kitchener is? Pub. So it's all, when I'm at a horse fair, or when I go to Stowe Fair, or when I go to Appleby or wherever, it's different things. Travellers can communicate to one another, but you get what we call you gorges, yeah? I hope you don't mind me saying that. But gorges, that's what we call gorges, travellers.
Cool.
Any special words in the hop yard?
She's pushing
It's
it.
all the same. It's all the same lingo, isn't it?
Was there a special word for a farmer, or just there wasn't a different word for the farmer?
The Roy.
Well,
Roy.
can you describe how things changed? So your family settled. I mean, how has it changed, the hop industry? Farming changed, and how that's reflected in how things have changed for your family.
What from now?
Yeah.
From this,
For how it
Those
was.
old times you were talking.
Yeah.
from old times to new.
Mm.
Well, the old times, that'll never come back. Which sometimes they try to get the old hop yards going, which is really, really good. And sometimes you can go like out to Hereford side, and you can go into the old hop yard, the old proper string hop yard, which it's really, really nice. I'd love to see it. They should bring it back. If you go from that to now, it's just zero. It's nothing happening. People not learning anything. You've learned. Everybody, what in my age or whatever, they've learned what they never learned. But the young ones today, they'll never learn nothing. They won't even know what's going on.
So what do hops mean to you?
Hops, the smell of them. The smell of hops brings everything back to me. It brings everything back to the family. It brings back to the gypsy community family. They'd always say this. They'd say the same. They say the same as what I'm saying now. That they'd love to go back to that. Oh, hop poles. Yes. The shed I've built, it is actually all built with hop poles. Well, not all of it, but all the uprights, as you can see, they're all tarred. They'll never rot. Every bit of it I've done, even in this room, that room, and the new piece I'm building. So I'd like to keep it. It's hops, isn't it? So that's what I like.
Moving around with your horse and your caravan, and it stopped and it changed. Your parents got older.
How did it feel?
How did it feel? How did all that feel when that changed? So can you describe that change and how it felt?
Well, the change from going back from, we'll say, from the 60s, you're working your way up through the 70s, 80s. Everything changes every year as you go through. And we've always sat by the fire when Mum and Dad was alive, when we was in the house, and we've always talked about the old days, and it would never ever be, wouldn't go forward. It would always be always talking back, like back from the probably the 50s, probably when mum and dad was married, or dad would always talk about different things like that, and he'd carry on, and he carried on right up to the more or less to the the time they passed away. But we always used to sit by the fire at night time when we was in the house, and he'd go right through different stories, and he'd tell you really good stories as well, frightening ones, good ones, yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a small one. When we used to have our shed, we used to have the caravan up on the bank. The shed used to be our kitchen, and we used to have the Queenie stove, and our dad would come back from the pub at night time, in the in the evening time, and we'd all sit in the shed like that, and he'd go. He used to have a blue crystal ball sort of thing, and he'd put it on the side like that, and he used to say to my mate, he used to say, "You watch this, I'll make this move now," and he'd put his hand over the top, and he'd bring it up like that. But it wasn't the stove what was moving, and my mate was fascinated by it. But it wasn't the stove what was moving, it was his hand. So he was watching his hand instead of the stove. So, yeah, that's one of the good memories, but I have got a lot of good memories for my mum and dad. Really have.
The last one, then you're
The
free.
last one. Could you tell us why you think it's important that we record stories from somebody like you? So we're creating an archive.
Yeah.
So do you think it's important that we do that? Make a film like this recording your memories, for example?
Yeah. It is very important, I think, because it's going to show the younger generation what is actually happened years ago, and like to the travelling younger boys as well. I'm speaking for them. I'm speaking for the other different people who want to do things like this. It's a good thing. If they go to like a war farm, and go back like to the Second World War and stuff like that, people like to do that. They love to see things like that. I do. Well, not actually see it, but it's taking you back in time, and I love to see things like that. But going from like for the hop picking and the way travellers used to live, and eat, drink, enjoy themselves, and it's good for the the younger generation to showing them what it was like, because they'll never get the chance to do it.